Your brain is sabotaging you. And you don't even realize it. Right now, even as you read these words, a mechanism is at work deep within your mind. Silently. Invisibly. This mechanism makes you fall for someone who doesn't like you. It makes you crave the one who ignores you. And the most painful part is this: the more you suffer, the more attached you become. Before we continue, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and share how you feel while watching this video in the comments. Your experiences strengthen this community. Scene: the anatomy of a text message. It's past midnight. The light from your phone casts ghostly shadows on the walls of your Brooklyn apartment. You look at the screen. Again. You've lost count of how many times. You open the message thread. You reread those texts. The ones you sent. Messages filled with long, thoughtful, carefully chosen words. Then you look at their replies. Short. Cold. Sometimes just an emoji. Sometimes nothing at all. Okay. Yep. Talk later. You toss and turn in your ***queen's *** bed. The voice in your mind won't stop. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe they were busy. Maybe their phone was charging. Maybe. When morning comes, you wake up tired and exhausted. The first thing you do is check your phone. Nothing. Your heart rate slows. A weight settles on your chest. But then you tell yourself something. Something trying to convince yourself, maybe today will be different. And right here, at this exact point, your mind is playing a trick on you. A huge trick. A game played since prehistoric times. And you don't even know the rules of this game. The neurological trap: why your brain loves the uninterested. The human brain is an evolutionary miracle. Over millions of years, it has been shaped to ensure our survival. But the painful irony is this: these ancient, powerful mechanisms betray us in the modern world of relationships. There is an area in your brain called the ventral tegmental area. Scientists call it the reward center. This area releases dopamine, the happiness hormone. But here's the key: dopamine is not released from happiness, but from anticipation. Imagine this: a slot machine. If you won money every time you pulled the lever, the excitement would wear off after 3 tries. But if you sometimes win and sometimes lose, that's when the addiction begins. Unpredictability. Uncertainty. Hopeless hope. Someone who always gives you attention is predictable. Your brain says, okay, this person is already here. No need to hunt. Your dopamine levels remain low. No excitement. You don't feel the passion. But what about someone who sometimes shows interest and sometimes ignores you? That's when your brain goes into alert mode. Dopamine levels spike. Neural pathways fire. Your body enters a state of stress, and stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, flood your bloodstream. And now, neurologically speaking, you are addicted. Flashback: the first rejection. Imagine yourself at 7 years old. You're on the school playground. You're excited to pick your playmates. You run up to a group of kids. You ask, "Can I play, too?" One of the kids looks at you. That look. That cold, assessing gaze. "No, not you," they say. The others laugh. You just stand there. Alone. Rejected. Invisible. In that moment, your brain's amygdala, the center for fear and danger, activates. The pain is recorded. Like physical pain. Because social rejection triggers the same areas in your brain as actual physical pain. And on that day, your little mind makes a decision. An unconscious decision: if I'm better, they will accept me. If I try hard enough, they will love me. This belief settles in your mind like a seed. It grows. It puts down deep roots. And years later, as an adult living in California, you are still trying to heal the wounds of that 7-year-old child. Familiar pain: why we rush towards the suffering we know. There is a paradox here. A dark paradox. If love was inconsistent in your childhood, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, your brain learned something. This is what love is like. Love is uncertain. Love requires a struggle. In psychology, we call this an attachment pattern. And this pattern is written into your adult relationships like a DNA code. You are 25, 30, 40 years old. But you live the same dynamic in your relationships. How do you feel when someone who shows you clear interest, is consistent, and is reliable, comes along? You get bored. Too easy, you tell yourself. Too predictable. No excitement. But the truth is, you're not bored. You're scared. Because consistent love feels foreign to you. It's not familiar. And the human brain interprets the unfamiliar as dangerous. Then that person arrives. Uninterested. Distant. Sometimes warm, mostly cold. Unpredictable. And your brain screams, this is it. This is what's familiar. This is what feels like home. You call this love. But in reality, it's trauma repetition. You're trying to heal your unresolved childhood wounds within your adult relationships. And, of course, it never heals. Deep dive, the hungry ghost syndrome. Consider a metaphor. You are like a hungry ghost. You wander around a feast table. There is every kind of food on the table. Fresh, delicious, nourishing foods. But you don't even see them. Because your gaze is elsewhere. Behind glass, out of your reach, there is a faint light. And you try to reach that light. Again, and again, and again. Why? Because a mechanism in your brain, a defense mechanism, has been activated, the urge to prove. If they love me, then I am worthy. If they show me interest, then I prove that I am sufficient. If they accept me, then all my past rejections will be meaningless. Do you see the trap? You view their interest not as a gift, but as a validation. You tie your own value to their reactions. And this is why someone who loves you doesn't interest you. Because they are already telling you that you are worthy. But you don't believe it. You don't want to believe it. Because if you do, what will you do? Who will you fight to prove yourself to? This is an addiction. An addiction to proving. And it is one of the most dangerous addictions. Because you can quit a substance. You can stop going to the casino in *** Las Vegas ***. But how do you stop the need to prove yourself? Historical examples, great loves, great deceptions. History is filled with examples of this dynamic. Consider Susan Beale Anthony, a pioneer of the women's rights movement. A strong, intelligent, independent woman. But her relationship with those who challenged her? A painful asymmetry. Anthony constantly pursued validation from people who dismissed her. They showed her interest, then withdrew it. They drew close, then pulled away. And she pursued their approval her entire life. If you look at her writings, you see it, the pain, the hope, the disappointment. And yet, she never gave up. Because their approval was not just a goal for her. It was an area for proof. If these great minds accept me, I must be great, too. Or consider Amelia Earhart, the world's most daring flyer. But what did she seek in her personal life? Men who didn't give her attention. George Putnam intellectually challenged her. Aviation officials tried to restrict her career. The press treated her like a passing curiosity. And Earhart continued to seek the approval of each one. Until her final flight. What do these stories tell you? This, intelligence, success, beauty, none of them protect you from this cycle. Because this cycle is not about your external successes, but about your internal wounds. Neurochemical betrayal, the dopamine trap. Now let's go a little deeper. Let's get a little more anatomical. There is an area in your brain called the nucleus accumbens. Your addiction center. The area responsible for cocaine, gambling, sex, and relationships. This area works with dopamine. Dopamine is known as the happiness hormone, but that's wrong. Dopamine is actually the seeking hormone. It motivates you. It makes you take action. But it never satisfies. Here is the striking truth: someone who shows you consistent interest keeps your dopamine release stable. Low but balanced. Peaceful but without excitement. Your brain says, no threat. Resource guaranteed. Go to rest mode. But someone who shows you inconsistent interest, your dopamine levels dance wildly. When a text arrives, a peak. When there's no reply, a drop. When there's a date, an explosion. When it's cancelled, a crash. This is a neurological roller coaster. And your brain confuses this roller coaster with love. Worse yet, after every drop, the brain does something. At the next peak, it releases more dopamine. Because the brain has learned the reward is uncertain. Therefore, more motivation is needed. Do you see it? Your brain is addicting you precisely to the situation where the reward is uncertain. Like a gambler. You pull the lever again, and again, and again. Because maybe this time you'll win. But you never do. Mini story, Sarah's spiral. Let me give you a real example. The names have been changed, but the story is real. Sarah is a 32-year-old architect. Successful. Independent. She has a wide social circle in Los Angeles. But for the last 3 years, she has been in a relationship with someone named Michael. I say a relationship in quotation marks because it's not a definable thing. Michael sometimes doesn't text for weeks. Then he suddenly appears, calls her past midnight, and wants to meet. Sarah goes every single time. Why? I ask her one day. I don't know, she says. But when I'm with him, I feel different. More alive. More real. And when you don't hear back from him, I ask. Her eyes well up. In those times, it's like I don't exist. It's like I only exist when he sees me. That's it. That is exactly it. Sarah has tied her own existence to Michael's approval. When he sees her, she exists. When he doesn't, she doesn't. One day, I introduce Sarah to someone else. David. He's kind, steady, and reliable. He is genuinely interested in Sarah. He texts every day. He makes plans to meet. He is clear. Sarah stops seeing David after 3 weeks. He's too intense, she says. He gives too much attention. I can't breathe. But the truth is, Sarah doesn't want to breathe. Because to breathe means to feel. And feeling is scary. Because if she feels, she will have to face herself. With Michael, she is constantly in crisis mode. Constantly worrying about what will happen. This anxiety acts like a shield. It protects her from her real feelings, her real wound. With David, she is safe. Peaceful. And this peace forces her to hear her inner voice. That inner voice that says, you are not enough. You don't deserve to be loved. That's why Sarah runs from David and rushes to Michael. Because Michael's uncertainty silences Sarah's inner voice. But David's clarity amplifies that voice. The anatomy of childhood wounds. Now let's go back. Further back. To Sarah's childhood. Sarah grew up with an emotionally distant father. Her father was a workaholic in New York City. He was tired when he came home. He showed Sarah very little attention. But sometimes, just sometimes, something Sarah did impressed her father. She drew a picture, got a high grade on a test, or won a competition. In those moments, her father smiled. He patted her shoulder. Good job, kid, he'd say. And those moments were etched into Sarah's brain. Dopamine bursts. Happiness. Validation. Existence. little Sarah drew a conclusion: my dad only loves me when I achieve something. Therefore, love is earned. Love is conditional. This belief was loaded into Sarah's mind like software. And now, 32-year-old Sarah is still operating on this software. Michael is her father. Inconsistent. Distant. Sometimes approving, mostly indifferent. And Sarah, unconsciously, is trying to get the attention from Michael that she couldn't get from her father. But, of course, she never gets it. Because Michael is not her father. And this is an attempt to heal a past wound. But with the wrong person. At the wrong time. In psychology, we call this transference. Transferring the dynamics of your past relationships onto your current relationships. And this is one of the most common relationship mistakes. The pain of awareness. As you've read this far, perhaps something has stirred inside you. Maybe you recognized yourself. Maybe you felt uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is the first step of awareness. But you need to know this: awareness causes pain. Because awareness means confronting ourselves. It means the shedding of our illusions. When I explained this cycle to Sarah, she fell into silence for weeks. Because facing the truth meant giving up something: hope. For years, Sarah carried a hope: one day, Michael will change. One day, he will see me. One day, I will be enough. But when awareness came, she saw this: Michael will never change. Because Michael doesn't have to change. This is not his problem. This is Sarah's wound. And here is the most painful truth: giving up Michael was not just giving up a man. It was giving up a fantasy she had carried since childhood: if I try hard enough, they will love me. This fantasy had kept Sarah going for years. But it was also her prison. Have you ever experienced this? Stop for a minute. Ask yourself, have you ever had such an experience? Have you ever chased someone who didn't show you interest? Have you ever pushed away someone who valued you, saying they were too boring? Share it in the comments. Because this is not just your story. This is all of our stories. Everyone experiences this, but no one talks about it. And this silence deepens the wound. You know, while making this video, I looked back at my own past. And I saw that I had also lived this cycle. For years. In college in Boston, I chased someone who showed me no interest. And I ignored someone who genuinely valued me. Why? Because I was operating on the same software. I also believed that love was something that had to be earned. And this belief caused me pain for years. The solution: breaking the cycle. Now, we come to the most important part. The solution. But I warn you, there won't be easy fixes. There won't be quick repairs. Because this is a pattern that has formed over years. And breaking it requires patience. It requires pain. And most importantly, it requires courage. Step 1: recognizing the pattern. The first step is to see your own pattern. And to do that, you need to look back at the past. Get a notebook. And write this: who were the people in my life who rejected me? Start with your family members. Your mother, your father, your siblings. Which one showed you inconsistent love? Which one loved you conditionally? Then, look at your past relationships. Romantic relationships, friendships, work relationships. Do you see a pattern? Do you notice that you constantly chase people who treat you distantly? Seeing this pattern is hard. Because it means accepting: I am attracted to the same kind of people. And these people are not good for me. But this acceptance is the first step toward freedom. Step 2: understanding the dopamine trap. The second step is to understand the game your brain is playing on you. Now, what do you feel when you talk to someone who doesn't show you interest? An excitement? A tension? Do you feel your heart racing? This is dopamine. This is a neurochemical reaction. It is not love. Now, imagine talking to someone who shows you consistent interest. What do you feel? A peace? A boredom? This is also dopamine. Or rather, a lack of dopamine spikes. But this is not lovelessness. This is trust. Your brain is confusing excitement with love. It is confusing tension with passion. And you are believing this confusion. But real love is not excitement. Real love is peace. It is trust. It is consistency. And yes, real love might feel boring at first. Because there are no dopamine bursts. But this is like an addict who is recovering from drugs finding normal life boring. Because the brain needs to adapt to a new normal. Step 3. Hearing your inner voice. The third step is the hardest. Hearing your own inner voice. That voice that tells you, you are not enough. You don't deserve to be loved. You are only worthy if you achieve something. Where does this voice live? In your chest? In your stomach? In your throat? One day, sit in a quiet place in your home in Denver. Close your eyes. And listen to that voice. Do not object. Do not try to silence it. Just listen. What is that voice telling you? Which words does it use? Perhaps it says, you will never be sufficient. Perhaps it says, if they really knew you, they would leave you. Perhaps it says, love is a prize. And you haven't earned it yet. After hearing this voice, give it a name. The critic. The protector. Little me. Whatever you want. Then, say this to it, I hear you. And I understand you. You are trying to protect me. But I no longer need your method. I am safe now. This is not easy. It might not work the first time. But repeat it. Every day. Engage in a dialogue with that voice every day. Because that voice is not your enemy. It is a wounded child. And to heal that child, you first need to talk to it. Step 4. Sit with good enough. The fourth step, spend time with someone who shows you consistent interest. Yes, even if it feels boring. Because you need to retrain your brain. You need to reset your dopamine receptors. At first, this will be terrifying. A voice inside you will scream, run. This is too predictable. This is too easy. There's no excitement here. Stop right at that moment. Take a breath. And ask yourself, do I truly want excitement, or do I want peace? Because excitement is temporary. But peace is permanent. When you feel bored next to someone who shows you consistent interest, it actually means this, your need for arousal is decreasing. Tension is decreasing. Stress is decreasing. And the brain interprets this decrease as boring. Because the brain wants the dopamine levels it is used to. But be patient here. Give it 2 or 3 months. Your brain will start to adapt. A new normal will form. And then, you will begin to feel consistency as peace. Step 5. Facing the trauma. The fifth step, seek professional help. Find a therapist. Because this cycle is often rooted in deep traumas. And deep traumas cannot be healed on your own. Trauma changes the structure of the brain. It reshapes neural pathways. It hyperactivates the amygdala, your fear center. It suppresses the prefrontal cortex, your logic center. And these changes cannot be fully corrected by conscious effort. Because trauma lives in the subconscious. Sarah finally went to a therapist. She received EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This therapy helps to reprocess traumatic memories. In the first sessions, Sarah went back to her childhood in Texas. She remembered the moments when her father ignored her. And she re-experienced those moments. But this time, with a difference, in a safe environment. With the support of a therapist. And slowly, the emotional charge of those memories began to diminish. Her father no longer seemed so huge. Those moments were no longer so painful. 6 months later, Sarah texted me, I saw Michael today. At a coffee shop in Austin. Before, my heart would race and my palms would sweat. But today? Nothing. I just saw him like an old acquaintance. No pain. No yearning. Just indifference. This is the sign of healing. Indifference. Because indifference is not hate. Indifference is detachment. Detachment from the old pattern. A real study, Attachment Theory and Our Choices in the 1950s, a psychiatrist named John Bowlby conducted a revolutionary study. He examined the relationships of infants with their mothers. And he discovered this: the childhood attachment style determines the adult relationship style. There are 4 types of attachment styles. Secure attachment: you experienced consistent love in your childhood. Your grandmother or father was there when you needed them. As an adult, you form healthy relationships. You balance distance and intimacy. You are attracted to people who show you interest. Anxious attachment: you experienced inconsistent love in your childhood. Sometimes warm, sometimes cold. That's why you are constantly worried. Will they leave me? As an adult, you constantly seek approval. And generally, you are attracted to avoidant people. Avoidant attachment: your emotional needs were not met in childhood. You were told to be strong, to don't cry. That's why you learn to suppress emotions. As an adult, you avoid intimacy. You keep your distance. And generally, anxious people find you. Disorganized attachment: in your childhood, fear and love were mixed. Perhaps you were abused. Perhaps you were neglected. That's why you both want intimacy and are afraid of it. As an adult, you experience chaotic relationships. And here is the striking statistic: research shows that 80% of anxiously attached people are drawn to avoidantly attached people. Why? Because it is familiar. It is recognizable. It feels like home. Anxiously attached Sarah found avoidantly attached Michael. And this was not a coincidence. This was an unconscious choice. When Sarah's brain saw Michael, it said, "This is familiar. This is the dynamic I know. I need to prove myself here." And so, the cycle began. Mini cliffhanger: but what if we can't love ourselves? Up to this point, I have explained this to you, why we are attracted to uninterested people. But now I will ask you a deeper question. What if the main problem is that we can't love ourselves? Think about it. If you loved yourself, truly loved yourself, would you chase someone who didn't show you interest? No. Because you would say to yourself, "I deserve better than this." But you can't say this. Because on a deep, unconscious level, you believe this: "I don't deserve good treatment." Where does this belief come from? Flashback: mirror neurons and the sense of self. When you were born, you had no idea about yourself. You didn't look into a mirror and say, "Ah, there I am." No. You saw yourself in the eyes of others. Your mother looked at you. Her eyes were shining. She was smiling. She embraced you with love. And your brain recorded this: "I am valuable. I am worthy of love." But what if your mother didn't look at you? What if there was fatigue, disappointment, or indifference in her eyes? Your brain recorded this: "I am a problem. I am a burden. I am not enough." We call this the mirror neuron effect. You have neurons in your brain called mirror neurons. These neurons perceive how others see you. And this perception forms your own sense of self. So, you see yourself in the eyes of others. And if you were seen as worthless in the eyes of others in your childhood, you also see yourself as worthless in your own eyes. That is why someone who treats you badly feels normal to you. Because this is how you treat yourself. Self-compassion, the hardest practice. Love yourself, they say. Easy to say. But how? If you never learn to love yourself, it's like a foreign language. You know the words, but you can't speak. Kristen Neff, a psychologist, developed the concept of self-compassion. And this is different from self-love. Self-love does not mean, "I'm amazing, I'm perfect." That is narcissism. Self-compassion means, I am a flawed human being, and that's okay. Try an exercise. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe. Now, say this to yourself, I am suffering. And this is hard. But I am not alone. Millions of people are also suffering this pain. And I choose to be kind to myself. At first, this will feel ridiculous. It will feel artificial. But repeat it. Every day. When you wake up in the morning in Miami. Before you go to bed at night. Because neural pathways are formed by repetition. You are retraining your brain. You are installing new software. The old software says, you are only worthy when you succeed. The new software says, you are worthy just because you exist. This transformation does not happen overnight. But every day, one step. A real story, Martin's awakening. Let me tell you another story. Martin, a 40-year-old software developer. Married. Father of 2 children. Everything looks perfect from the outside. But Martin carries a secret. For the last 5 years, he's been platonically in love with a woman at work. Her name is Sarah. Sarah has never shown Martin any interest. She's distant. Professional. But Martin goes to work early every day just to say hello to her. He wanders near Sarah's office. He tries to sit next to her in meetings. At home, his wife asks him, "Are you okay? You seem preoccupied." "I'm fine," Martin says. But he's not fine. Because his mind is always on Sarah. His wife is warm to him. Loving. But Martin doesn't seek her. Even when he looks at his wife, his mind is on Sarah. One day, Martin's wife finds a note. A love letter Martin wrote to Sarah but never sent. And everything explodes. Martin comes to therapy. In the first session, I ask him, what does Sarah have that your wife doesn't? He thinks. Then he says, Sarah is unattainable. A mystery. I can never fully understand her. But my wife. She is too open. Too predictable. No mystery. And does it have to be a mystery? I ask. I guess. Yes, he says. Because without the mystery, there's no excitement. And what does excitement mean to you? A long silence. Then his eyes well up. Excitement means a chance to prove myself. If Sarah loves me, then I will be sufficient. There it is. There is the wound. Martin's mother was a perfectionist woman in upstate New York. Nothing was ever enough. No matter what Martin did, his mother wanted better. And now, 40-year-old Martin is still seeking his mother's approval. But not from his mother. From Sarah. Sarah is a symbol. Unattainable approval. Validation he will never receive. And his wife? She already approves of Martin. She already loves him. That's why Martin sees her as worthless. Because if it's so easily obtained, it can't be valuable. We worked with Martin for months. We explored his childhood memories. We reprocessed his mother's criticisms. And slowly, something began to change. One day, he told me this, "Today, I looked at my wife. I really looked. She was making coffee in the morning. The sun was hitting her face. And for a moment, I saw her. For the first time, I truly saw her. And I thought, this woman loves me. Truly loves me. And I was missing this gift." Martin understood something that day. Real love is not about being unattainable. Real love is about being here and now. Neurological fact, plasticity and hope. Let me give you some good news. Your brain can change. There is a concept called neuroplasticity. The brain can break old neural pathways and form new ones. No matter your age. Yes, childhood traumas affect the structure of the brain. But this is not permanent. With the right practices, the brain can reshape itself. fMRI scans show that meditation, therapy, and conscious practices change the physical structure of the brain. The amygdala, the fear center, shrinks. The hippocampus, the memory and learning center, grows. The prefrontal cortex, the logic and decision-making center, gets stronger. This means hope. This means you can heal, not you are doomed. But you need to know this too, this takes time. Research shows that at least 6 to 12 months of consistent practice is required for meaningful neural change. 6 months. 1 year. It might sound long. But think, how many years have you been living this pattern? 20 years? 30 years? Then 1 year is a small investment. Practical techniques, day-by-day transformation. Now I will give you concrete, practical techniques. These are not academic theories. These are tools that work in real life. Technique 1, the familiar pain journal. Keep a notebook. Every day, write this: in which moment today did I feel the familiar pain? Maybe a friend didn't show you attention and you got upset. Maybe your boss ignored you and you felt worthless. Write down that moment in detail. Then, ask yourself, where did I experience this feeling in the past? Find your childhood memory. See the connection. This practice makes subconscious patterns conscious. And once they are conscious, you can change them. Technique 2, the dopamine detox. For 1 week, cut off all communication with the person who treats you indifferently. Don't text at all. Don't call. Don't check their social media. The first few days will be hell. Because the brain is seeking dopamine. Your hands will tremble. The urge to check your phone will cause you pain. But then, on the 4th or 5th day, something will happen. Your mind will become clear. You will say, I was addicted. And this realization is the beginning. Technique 3, the safe person exercise. Choose someone who shows you consistent interest. A friend. A family member. Even a therapist. Spend regular time with them. Once a week. For an hour. And during that hour, your only task is this: to get used to their presence. To get used to their consistency. At first, you will be bored. You will say, this is too flat, too ordinary. But continue. Because your brain is learning a new normal. Consistency is not ordinary. Consistency is trust. Technique 4, the inner child dialogue. Set aside 5 minutes every day. Sit in a quiet place in Oregon. Close your eyes and imagine your childhood self. That small, wounded child. Now, as your adult self, talk to that child. I see you. I see your pain. And I want you to know this: you are safe now. I am here. I will protect you. You no longer have to earn anyone's approval. This might sound ridiculous. But this is one of the most powerful healing tools. Because trauma is frozen in your childhood state. And reaching that child is not possible with your adult logic, but with your emotional language. Technique 5, the reversal practice. When someone who treats you indifferently sends a text, do not reply immediately. Wait. 1 hour. 2 hours. Even a day. Why? Because replying immediately sends this message: you are the priority. I will wait. But when you make them wait, you are sending this message to yourself: my time is valuable. I will reply when I am available. This is a small step. But it is symbolically powerful. Because it changes the dynamic. The transformation, Sarah's new life. Let's go back to Sarah's story. Because Sarah transformed. 2 years later, I saw Sarah. She had changed. There was a different expression on her face. More peaceful. More present. What happened? I asked. She smiled. I met someone, she said. His name is John. An architect. Like me. But completely different. How is he different? He's consistent, she said. He texts every day. He makes plans. He's clear. And at first, I wanted to run. I thought, this is too intense. But then I remembered what we learned in therapy. The dopamine trap. The familiar pain. And I stayed. The first month was very hard. I constantly thought about Michael. I wonder what he's doing. But then one day, I realized I'm not thinking about Michael. At all. And this was shocking. What do you feel now? I asked. She paused. She thought. Peace, she said. For the first time, I feel peace in a relationship. No tension. No anxiety. Just now. Here. Isn't it boring? I asked, half joking, half serious. She laughed. In another world, the old me would say, yes, boring. But now I understand, what I thought was boring was actually trust. And trust? Trust is the deepest love. You and now, your imagined future. Now I want to do an exercise with you. Close your eyes. Or focus on these words. Imagine it is 1 year from now. You have changed. You are no longer chasing the uninterested. You are no longer falling into the dopamine trap. You are someone who values yourself. And because of this, you choose people who value you. You are in a coffee shop in Washington. Someone is sitting across from you. They are looking at you. There is warmth in their eyes. They ask, "How are you?" And when you hear this simple question, you feel something. The feeling of being seen. The feeling of being cared for. And this feeling does not make you nervous. You don't want to run. Because you know now, good treatment is something you deserve. The old you might have said, this is too boring. But the new you says, this is beautiful. When you leave the coffee shop, you don't check your phone. You don't look to see if your old platonic love has texted. Because that person is no longer important. What is important is here. Now. The person who values you. When you go home at night, you look in the mirror. And for the first time, you see yourself with love. The critical voice is no longer so loud. When you lie down in bed, your mind is calm. No worry. No anxiety. Just peace. And as sleep comes, a final thought crosses your mind, I am free now. This is not a dream. This is a possible future. Your future. Conclusion, one final truth here is the final truth, someone who loves you may not bring excitement. But someone who loves you is home. And home might feel boring. Because home is safe. Predictable. Peaceful. But think, what do you really want? Do you want to be on a roller coaster for the rest of your life? Constantly up and down, up and down? Or do you want to arrive somewhere? Because chasing uninterested people is not a destination. It is an endless run. And eventually, you will be exhausted. Throughout history, great mystics have said one thing, what you seek is seeking you. You are looking for validation outside. You are waiting for someone to tell you, yes, you are worthy. But the truth is, that approval is within you. It is already there. You just don't see it. Because since childhood, you learn to look outside. Now, it is time to look inside. And yes, this is hard. Because looking inside means confronting wounds. It means sitting with pain. It means accepting uncomfortable truths. But this difficulty is the price of freedom. Rumi, the poet, wrote 800 years ago, the wound is the place where the light enters you. Your wound, the wound of chasing the uninterested, might seem like a darkness. But in reality, this wound is a door. The door to inner transformation. And when you pass through this door, you will reach another world. A world where you love yourself. A world where you know your worth. In that world, you are not chasing the uninterested. Because you already have everything you need, right there inside you. Final call, what will you do now? We have reached the end of this video. But your journey begins now. You will make a choice now. You will either hear this information and do nothing. You will return to your old pattern. You will reply to the last message from the uninterested one. Or you will take a step. A small step. Today, now. Maybe that step will be getting a notebook and writing your first entry. Maybe that step will be calling a therapist in New Jersey. Maybe that step will be blocking the uninterested person. Maybe that step will be going back to someone who values you. Whatever the step is, take it. Because every great transformation begins with a single step. And I know, you are scared. You are thinking, what if I change and I'm not happy? What if this new world doesn't suit me? But ask yourself this, does the old world suit you? Really? You have been suffering for years. You have hoped hopelessly for years. You have been trying to prove yourself for years. Enough is enough. Enough of underestimating yourself. Enough of waiting for the attention of the uninterested. Enough of turning in the dopamine trap. You are free. You have always been free. You just didn't realize it. And now, you realize it. Now, it is time to take action. Share in the comments, what will be your first step? After watching this video, what will you do? Write it down. Declare it. Because what you declare becomes real. And remember, you are not alone. Millions of people are living this pain. But they don't talk. In this video, you talked. You gained awareness. And awareness is half of the healing. The other half is action. Take action. Be free. You deserve to be loved. Real love. Consistent love. And that love is waiting for you. It just takes the courage to see it. That courage is within you. Now, it is time to find it. This video is not an end, but a beginning. There is more content on the channel about relationships, trauma, and healing. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because this journey is easier together. And remember, your brain might be sabotaging you. But you are stronger than your brain. Because you are aware. And awareness changes everything. Epilogue, 6 months later when I last saw Sarah, she brought me her wedding invitation. She was marrying John. Does Michael ever cross your mind? I asked. She paused. Sometimes, she said. But it no longer hurts. It's just a memory. A distant memory. What changed? I asked. Me, she said simply. I changed. I no longer need anyone to complete me. Because I am already whole. I looked into her eyes. There was peace in those eyes. Real peace. You know, she said, the most surprising thing was this, during the first month with John, I was constantly expecting a disaster. When will he leave me? I thought. When will his interest fade? But he never changed. He remained consistent. And after a while, my brain adapted. What does it feel like? I asked. She smiled. Like home. But this time, a real home. Warm, safe, loving. Not that chaotic house from childhood. Sarah's story is not an end. She is still learning. Still growing. Still encountering old patterns sometimes. But now she knows the difference. Now she has the tools. Now she is allied with herself. And that changes everything. The continuation of the neurological truth, why do we repeat? There is still one question I haven't answered. Perhaps the most important question, why do we repeat the same pattern, even if it causes pain? The answer is in a mechanism of the brain, repetition compulsion. Freud discovered this in 1920. People who experience trauma unconsciously try to re-experience the trauma. Why? Because the brain is trying to resolve the unresolved trauma. Example, your father abandoned you in childhood. The trauma was recorded. The brain flagged this trauma as incomplete. Now you are an adult in Boston. And unconsciously, you find men who resemble your father. Distant men. Men who can abandon you. Why? Because the brain thinks this time it will be different. This time, if I get him, I can heal the old wound. But of course, it is never different. Because this is not the healing of the old wound. It is the re-experiencing of the old wound. The brain works in a strange way. To resolve trauma, it recreates the trauma. But this does not work. Because the person outside cannot heal the wound inside. The wound inside can only be healed from within. The paradox: why is pain addictive? There is another paradox. A darker paradox. Pain is addictive. You have heard of Stockholm Syndrome. Hostages begin to love their captors. Why? Because the brain develops a strategy for survival. If I love the person who is hurting me, maybe they will stop the hurting. This is an evolutionary mechanism. Thousands of years ago, being cast out of your tribe meant death. That is why the brain views the possibility of rejection as a survival threat. And now, in the modern world, the same mechanism is active. Someone who doesn't show you interest is a survival threat to your brain. That's why the brain screams, win them over. Or you will die. Of course, you are not literally dying. But the brain is operating in survival mode. Logic is offline. Only panic. And what do you do when you are in a panic? You try harder. You send more messages. You chase more. But this does not win the other person over. It pushes the other person away. Because the other person senses your energetic effort. And this is repulsive. Do you see the trap? The harder you try, the more they pull away. The more they pull away, the harder you try. This is a death spiral. And the way out is paradoxical: to stop the effort. The art of letting go, the hardest action, they say, let it go. But how? How do you let go when your mind forces you to send a message at midnight? How do you let go when your heart screams their name? Letting go does not happen by force. It does not happen by sheer willpower. Letting go happens with an understanding. A deep understanding. This person cannot heal my wound. Because this wound existed before them. And even if they leave, this wound will remain. When you truly internalize this understanding, letting go is not easy, but it becomes possible. An exercise: write on a piece of paper, I want the attention of name because if they love me, I will be underscore 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 underscore. Fill in the blank. Be honest. Perhaps you will write, I will be worthy. Perhaps you will write, I will be sufficient. Perhaps you will write, I will be someone who deserves to be loved. Now, look at that sentence. Really look at it. What fills that blank is what you truly want. And that thing cannot come from that person. Because that thing is an internal job. If you feel worthless right now, even if that person loves you, you will continue to feel worthless. Because the inner voice will continue, you just got lucky. But in reality, you are worthless. Or when that person loves you, you will not value them. Because the inner logic is this: if they love me, then they must be worthless too. Because a worthy person wouldn't love me. Do you see? The problem is not external. The problem is internal. And the internal problem cannot be solved by someone external. Mini story: Aisha's moment of awareness. Aisha, a 28-year-old teacher in Phoenix, Arizona. She has been chasing Mark for 3 years. Mark is a musician. Charismatic. But distant. Aisha does everything for Mark. She goes to his concerts. She brings him meals. She listens to his problems. But Mark always treats Aisha like just a friend. One day, Aisha's close friend Dawn says something to her. Aisha, why do you love Mark? Aisha gives the automatic answer because he is special. Talented. Different. No, says Dawn. I'm asking you the real question. Why do you love him? Aisha stays silent. She thinks. And then, suddenly, tears come. I don't know, she says. Maybe. Maybe I don't love him. Maybe I just need him. I need him to see me. Because if he doesn't see me, it's like I don't exist. There it is. There is the truth. Aisha does not love Mark. Aisha needs Mark's approval. Because Aisha has tied her own existence to his approval. That night, Aisha goes home and deletes all the photos. She blocks his number. And she cries. She cries for hours. But this crying is different. This is mourning. Not just for Mark. But for the pain she inflicted upon herself for years. The next day, Aisha wakes up and feels something strange, a lightness. As if a burden has been lifted. I am free, she whispers. And she believes it. Brain chemistry, the post-breakup process. What is happening in Aisha's body when she blocks Mark? The first 24 to 48 hours, withdrawal syndrome. Dopamine crash. Cortisol spike. Physical pain. Chest aches. Nausea. Sleep disturbance. The brain is literally trying to recover from an addiction. And withdrawal from addiction is painful. 3 to 7 days, decision fragility. The brain wants to revert to the old pattern. Maybe I'll send one text. Just to say hi. Danger zone. 2 weeks, clarity begins. Dopamine receptors are reorganizing. Cortisol levels are returning to normal. Sleep regulates. 1 month, the new normal. You are no longer constantly thinking about that person. Sometimes you think about them, but it doesn't hurt. 3 months, you look back and are surprised. How was I so obsessed? Because the brain has rewired the neural pathways. 6 months, freedom. True freedom. That person has lost their power. They are just an ordinary person now. But beware, this process only works with a complete break. If you send a "how are you" text in between, the process resets. Because the brain gets a dopamine hit again. And the addiction is reactivated. Therefore, complete break. Completely. With no turning back. The anatomy of real love. Now let me tell you what real love is. Because many people confuse love with obsession. Obsession, constant thinking, feeling out of control, seeking approval, trying to prove oneself, suffering but being unable to let go, the feeling of I can't live without them, lack of trust, constant anxiety. Real love, peace, trust, respect, freedom, the meeting of two whole people, the feeling of I am better with them, clarity, joy. Do you see the difference? Obsession is addiction. Dopamine, adrenaline, cortisol. Brain chemistry. Real love is attachment. Oxytocin. Serotonin. Endorphins. Different brain chemistry. Obsession consumes you. Real love nourishes you. Obsession comes from lack. Real love comes from wholeness. And here is the most important difference: obsession tries to fill your lack. Real love celebrates your wholeness. A year later in San Diego, I see Sarah on the street, laughing with a man walking beside her. There is a man next to her. They are laughing. I walk up to them. Sarah, how are you? She smiles when she sees me. A warm smile. I'm great, she says. Let me introduce you, this is John. John extends his hand. Kind. Warm. Then Sarah says to me, you know, I saw Michael the other day. He was performing a concert. A friend took me. How was it? I ask. Strange, she says. I looked at the stage and saw him. And I felt nothing. I just thought, he sings well. But it wasn't like before. Before, when I looked at him, my whole world trembled. But now, just a person. Talented, yes. But not magical. What changed? I ask. John touches Sarah's hand. A gentle touch. And Sarah looks at him. Everything is in that gaze. Trust. Peace. Love. I changed, Sarah says. I found myself. And when I found myself, I no longer needed someone else to find me. Deep psychological truth, projection. Carl Jung said something, everything that is rejected and pushed into the unconscious comes back to us from the outside, as fate. What does this mean? In your childhood, you rejected some of your own qualities. Perhaps your emotionality. You were told, don't cry, you are weak. So you suppressed your emotions. Perhaps your strength. You were told, girls are gentle. So you hid your strength. Perhaps your sexuality. You were told, don't be immodest. So you internalized your sexuality. These rejected parts are buried in your unconscious. But they don't disappear. No. They come back to you from the outside. You see those qualities in other people. And you are attracted to them. You are attracted to an emotional but distant man. Because he carries the emotionality you suppressed. You are attracted to a strong but uninterested woman. Because she carries the strength you hid. And then, you try to change that person. But in reality, you are trying to reclaim that rejected part of yourself. Jung said, a relationship is not between two people, but four. Two conscious, two unconscious. You are not just seeing the person in front of you. You are also seeing your own shadow. And you are trying to love your shadow. Outside. But the shadow must be healed inside. Practice meeting the shadow. I will give you a practice. A difficult practice. But transformative. Answer this question, what qualities does the person I chase have that I don't have? Write it down. Write it in detail. Perhaps you will write, self-confidence. Independence. Creativity. Passionate. Risk-taking. Now, next to each quality, write this, when was this quality suppressed in me? Go back to your childhood. Find that moment. Maybe you wrote self-confidence. When was your self-confidence broken? Perhaps a school presentation. You made a mistake and everyone laughed. That day, you decided to hide your self-confidence. Maybe you wrote passionate. When was your passion suppressed? Perhaps you had a hobby, but your family said, waste of time, study your lessons. That day, you internalized your passion. Now, the most important step, reclaim those qualities. Find them within yourself. I can be self-confident. I can be creative. I can be passionate. At first, it will feel like a lie. But repeat it. Every day, look in the mirror and say those words. Because those qualities are actually in you. They are just buried. And what you seek to find in someone else is what you can find within yourself. Spiritual unfolding, being whole. Now I will get a little spiritual. But this is not a religious talk. It is a universal truth. All spiritual traditions say one thing, you are already whole. Buddhism says, the Buddha nature is already within you. Christianity says, the kingdom of God is within you. Sufism says, what you seek is the seeker. Modern psychology calls this the self. Jung calls this the individuation. But the idea is the same, you are already whole. You have no lack. You do not need someone else to complete you. But I feel lacking, you say. Yes. Because you were taught that. Because society constantly sends the message, you are not enough. You must achieve more. You must earn more. You must be loved more. And these messages form a belief system, I will only be whole if I become X. But the truth is, when you reach X, you will not feel wholeness. Because wholeness does not come from reaching a goal. Wholeness comes from a realization. I am already whole. Right now. Just as I am. This is the most radical idea. And the most healing. Because with this realization, you no longer need anyone to complete you. You no longer seek anyone's approval. And then, relationships change. You are no longer connecting from lack, but from wholeness. I don't need you. But I choose to be with you. That is real love. Final scene, you, 1 year later. Imagine. A year has passed. 1 year since you watched this video. What has changed? Perhaps you let go of that uninterested person. You let go completely. And at first, it was terrible. Loneliness. Emptiness. Grief. But then, slowly, something formed. You started to find yourself. You returned to your old hobbies in California. You made time for your friends. You went to therapy. You kept a journal. And one day, you looked in the mirror and saw a different face. A more peaceful face. A stronger face. Then, someone came into your life. You weren't expecting it. You weren't searching. But they came. And this person showed you consistent interest. They texted every day. They kept their word. They were clear. And you, at first, were uneasy. You thought, this is too easy. Something must be wrong. But then you remembered this video. These words. And you allowed yourself. You allowed yourself to stay. And now, 6 months later, you are happy with them. Truly happy. Peacefully happy. Your old platonic love sometimes crosses your mind. But it no longer hurts. Just like a lesson. Ah, they taught me this, you say. And now, you are giving advice to someone else watching this video, let go. Find yourself. The rest will follow. This is possible. This is real. This is your future. But only on one condition, if you take action. Ultimate truth, love is an action. One final truth, love is not a feeling. Love is an action. You do not act according to feelings. Feelings are dopamine. Neurochemistry. They are temporary. You act according to your values. What are your values? I deserve respect. I deserve consistency. I deserve good treatment. With these values, you make a choice to say yes to people who treat you well. To say no to people who treat you badly. At first, this feels like a betrayal of your feelings. Because your feelings draw you to the old pattern. But your actions come from your values. And in time, your feelings align with your values. That is the real transformation, to move from being a slave to your feelings to being the owner of your values. Closing, this is not the end. We have come to the end of this video. 60 minutes. 60,000 words. But this is not the end. Because the real work begins now. When you turn off the screen. When you return to life. At that moment, the old patterns will pull you. What if I send one message? Maybe this time it will be different, they will say. In that moment, remember these words. Your brain is sabotaging you. But you are stronger than your brain. You are worthy. Right now. Just as you are. You deserve real love. Consistent, warm, safe love. And that love is waiting for you. But first, you have to give that love to yourself. Promise yourself, I will treat myself well. I will value myself. And I will let go of people who do not value me. This promise changes your life. Write in the comments, I promise. 3 words. But these 3 words are your freedom. And remember, you are not alone. Millions of people are on this path. We are all healing. We are all growing. We are all becoming free. Together. See you later. in the next video, in the next step. But now, take action right now.